Hello, good evening. Hi, great people. Welcome to another evening of Power Packed with wisdom, knowledge, and nuggets that can shape our destiny, that can make us better. And this is amazing day that we are here again at the World Show, where we always meet to make our life better, to make our business better, to make our personal brand better. And we thank God for every opportunity and chance that has granted you and I to be able to converse here and make it better. It's amazing. It is awesome. And we're always happy knowing that you took your time, you're taking your time, you're taking also your money to have bundles so that you can be able to be encouragement to us because you are and we are here. So at the end of the day, we thank God for that opportunity that we have gotten a chance to come and share. So let us know where you're watching us from, how's the sound, how's the video, how's everything. Drop a message for us, a message of encouragement, and how everything is. Today will be an amazing day because we are doing an amazing topic that will cut across in the area of our leadership, in the area of our homes, in the area of our personal callings, and also in the area of business and everything else that we do that we pertains to discuss, to negotiate, and make a deal out of it. So make sure that you have your pen in place, make sure you have your notebook in place, even as we discuss the things that will be able to converse this evening. So feel comfortable, make sure that you are sharing this link, make sure you are tagging your friend. Let's make sure we are reaching as many people as possible as we can. So kindly share, kindly share, kindly share, and that is the best gift that you can give us, that you're making sure we are reaching as many people as we can. Thank you, my brother. I can see we have what would call them, the sacred viewers who are watching us from behind the screen, and thank you even for that opportunity. Thank you, my brother Douglas. Meru is well represented. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, John. It's amazing to see you here. Thank you, my brother Moses. It's amazing. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Mose. I know Kenyatta Road is well represented and locked. Douglas from Meru. I know Meru is fine. Jane John, thank you for coming in. Make sure we are sharing. Now, tonight, I want to discuss about negotiation skills. Whether you're negotiating from a leadership point of view, whether you're negotiating from a leadership point of view, whichever area that you're negotiating, because I have realized negotiation is a key principle in winning and striking deals. It's very important because I've realized we are not able to negotiate. We are not able to persuade enough. We are not able to put our case across. And at the end of the day, we have lost quite a number of opportunity that comes our way because we don't understand the nitty-gritties when it comes to negotiations and how do you put across your case in a persuasive manner, in a convincing manner that can make you, whether you're doing a business and probably looking for people who can fund you, probably you want to put your case across. How do you persuade people well that they feel it is a loss if they don't involve themselves with you? How do you keep across even at that place when you are striking a deal with people, probably you're looking for partnership? How do you able to sell yourself out there that people feel that you have won their heart? If you can won people's heart, if you can own their mind, then you can own their pockets. Then it becomes easier for them to work with you. So negotiation is very key. It's very important for any person who wants to be great in business, someone who wants to be great in leadership. Your negotiation skills are very important because they'll make you to navigate along your way, and at the end of the day, you're able to make a better deal for yourself. So it's very important for you to understand, how can I be able to become a great negotiator? How can I be able to put my case across? And at the end of the day, I'm able to win. And that's what we'll be looking, because you realize when we talk much of business, is about how well are you able to negotiate? How are you able to put across your case in a way that at the end of the day, you're able to win? We always say this in business, that the greatest goal goal of any business or entrepreneur is be able to maximize on your profit as you manage your your losses. You're able to make sure that your losses, your expenses are at the minimum as you maximize. And the best tool for you to maximize opportunity is how you negotiate. Are you negotiating with suppliers? Are you negotiating with customers? Are you negotiating with potential partners who can partner with you? Are you negotiating with lenders? Your negotiation skills are very important because they're able to work for your benefit. Remember, this is one of the tools that doesn't cost you anything, but it eats much. Let me repeat this. If you use your negotiation skills very well, this is not something that you buy. This is not, it's not a good, it's not a cup. So it means it is the production cost of negotiation. It is zero, but it can amount to 100% profit. Why? Because you're using yourself to negotiate, to put your case across, whether it's a business deal that people will be able to value whatever you're saying. So that is very important in terms of negotiation. In negotiation, we always say there are three things that are very important. You must be able to persuade someone. And when you talk about persuading someone, is making sure that you are able to whip everything that they have to believe in whatever you're saying. So we look, how do you do that? Then once you're able to pursue, to be able to make sure that you're able to persuade someone, then you must be able to convince them. Then once you convince them to a place whereby that they believe you're the best, whatever you're offering is the best. And I always say this, when you're negotiating, you need to learn the act of the act of making sure that that person, if they don't work with you, then they're losing everything. So you need to get to a place where that you are able to convince whoever you are convincing, whoever you are doing the negotiation with, to a place where they feel if they don't do whatever you're putting across to them, then they'll lose everything. So you need to persuade them. Then you need to make sure that you're able to convince them. Then at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you win everything that they have for your betterment. That is very important. Now, negotiation, as we said, it's a persuasive, it's a formal communication, it's a persuasive kind of communication that you want to make sure that you achieve something. There's an objective that you want to make sure that you sell. And I always say this, the difference between just communication and negotiation, because they're quite a strike. Both of them, they're communication, but what happened to the negotiation? You are not just passing information. You're not just pursuing, passing information or trying to tell people something for the sake to think about it, or probably. When we talk about negotiation, why it is an upper hand than communication, or which is, would say negotiation, it's more objective. There is something that you want, there is something you want to win. It's not just passing across information. There is something you want to win in terms of opportunity, in terms of business, in terms of money. There is something you want to win. So when we talk about negotiation, it's quite different from communication, because communication is just, it's a matter of, passing information or passing a message. But when you talk about negotiation, it's not just passing information. Actually, your interest is not passing information. That information must achieve something, either tangible or create an opportunity for you or create a door for you. So that's a whole thing about negotiation that makes it different from communication. But at the end of the day, we use some of the skills in communication to make yourself a better negotiator in a table. Now, what are the things that will make you, even before we look different types of negotiation, what will make you a better negotiator? Number one, self-confidence is key. You cannot persuade someone, you cannot convince someone when you don't have confidence. And confidence is not just with words. Even the way you're walking, probably you're going to have a negotiation in a room, and probably you're invited. So who are those people who invited you, or those people probably that they want to have a negotiation or a discussion with you, they invited you. The way you're going to walk in that office, the way you're going to walk in that boardroom will determine, will create an image of someone who is sure of what they're going to present. So confidence is not only just with words. No. Even your walking style, the way you're going to walk in that room, the whole thing. I have walked in the office, and even before you say anything, that itself, the way people will see you will know, is this a serious person? Is whatever they're saying or we're going to discuss about, it adds some point for you. So confidence is key in negotiation. You need to have confidence, and also confidence in whatever you're saying. Because if you have not convinced yourself, for example, you want to sell a project to someone, and they're like, if you're not sure of that confidence, you don't have that confidence within yourself about the project you're discussing, then how sure are we that as you're convincing us to join you, do you give us a reason as to why we should be able to work with you? And confidence is key. So if you want to become a good negotiator, you must make sure you build up confidence. Know that you can be able to maintain, confidence help you, it emphasizes your communication skills in terms of eye contact, in terms of your hands, how you are able to, emphasize with your, the body language, what we call the nonverbals. They're very important. Actually, your nonverbals, how you use your nonverbal communications, they come along with the place of confidence. So you need to be more confident, because when you are confident, then you feel free to communicate. You're already assertive of what you want to say. So confidence is key for any person who wants to be a negotiator. Whether you want to negotiate for deals, whether you're negotiating for your leadership skills, whether you're negotiating for your position, whichever negotiation you get your place into, you need to have confidence. You need to have confidence. And I said confidence helps you to settle. It helps you to feel free. You're not, there is no confusion. Where there is confidence, there is no confusion. So by the time, have you had, when you, actually let me say this, when you making negotiation, and I'm also in terms of leadership, in terms of business, because we're talking about business. In business, when you're getting to a place of negotiating, and probably you say something which you never meant to say, and probably whatever you say will work against you, and will work for the people you're negotiating for. I'm telling you, you cannot convince them that was a slip of the tongue. You cannot say they never meant that. Actually, they take it. And for example, just assume you are negotiating, you go to a market and are negotiating to buy a suit, maybe at 5,000, but as you're talking, you mention 8,000. I'm telling you, the seller will be able to shift from where you're negotiating on 5,000, and they will rush to 8,000. And by the time you're shifting from 8,000, that was a slip of the tongue. I'm telling you, you have either wasted a lot of time, or probably you have shifted, psychologically you have shifted yourself from 5,000 to 8,000. Now you have started another journey of, discussing from 8,000 to coming back to 5,000. And initially that's where you are. So when you are negotiating, that's why I said you need to have confidence. It helps you to remove that place of confusion. It helps you to a place where you're comfortable and you're free and you're composed. That is very important. So you need to understand the power of communication based on confidence, because now that one helps you to negotiate well. Number two, when you are negotiating, it's very important to make sure that your outlook, what we would call your image emphasizes what you're saying. Have you seen to a place when I love when you go to to a place where we don't have a fixed price, where you can negotiate. Your negotiation is always around how you have presented yourself. The same case will happen if someone who is selling to you is going to negotiate. You'll get to a phone, someone will buy a phone at 20,000, somebody else will buy it at 22,000, just because of their presentation, the place of image. So your image will always work out your way out. When you're going to strike a deal, when you want to get partners, when you want to make sure that people are convinced beyond doubt that whatever you are saying, it is right, your image is very key. Your image is very key. So when you're getting out, when you get into an office, when you're getting to negotiate your position, whichever position it is that you're negotiating, you need to, whether you're negotiating with a client. I remember I was telling my student that when you are striking a business deal and someone, most of the time when they have to give you some deposit, for them to feel comfortable, your image is very important. You cannot go to discuss a project. You're selling to people. Let's just assume you are talking about selling a product worth 500,000. And when people, they look at you, it's like, man, you have never touched 500,000. So they need to have confidence that whatever you're mentioning, you had an experience with it before. So you cannot negotiate and your image is not emphasizing. Actually, your image comes to strengthen your words. It comes to give them the confidence of this person that whatever you're negotiating, you understand what you're saying. So image is very important. Your image, your dressing is very important. There are meetings you'll be called, and the kind of agendas you are handling, they need to be backed with your dressing. You don't just dress anyhowly. There are meetings you are called, and that meeting, there is something you're going to negotiate that is worth, worth to me. So that means I need to present myself in such a manner that those people will feel it is worth what we are discussing with them. So your image is very important. And let me tell you, your image communicates a lot more than your words. Actually, I always say this: don't contradict your image with your words, and don't contradict your words with your image. They must be a coherent. They must be you can be able to connect my wordings and my image, my presentability and my words. They must work together. They must have a connection. There must be a glue in them. If you want to become a good negotiator, always make sure that your image in terms of dressing. And we had a discussion of, are you smart or are you decent? You must make sure that decency based on what are the occasion. You could be very smart, but you're not decent for that negotiation. So you need to understand what kind of, if for example, you're going to discuss or you're going to negotiate as a designer, and you want to do let's assume you're a designer and there is a client you're meeting and they want you to do their weddings, regalias and attires. So when you're going there, even your dressing itself, they must have wow, there is something we like. You can refer to what you're wearing at that particular moment, and they will feel. You cannot come to tell us you're a designer and you want to design for our wedding and you're coming with a short and with a t-shirt. I don't know. I believe you're a designer. It's okay because you work. As much as you're showing us picture, we cannot feel you. We cannot feel you. So image is very important. You cannot be able to work in a bank and probably you want to go and meet the bank, the bank manager for a loan to do a business. And by the kind you're walking in, you put off. You'll do a lot of work to convince, to open the mind to this person. Because what happens is the image that you, the image that you create or the image that you carry, it's supposed to be like an opener. When people, they see you, when people, they look at you, they want to listen out to you. It's already, you have created a conducive environment for yourself. So image is very important. And don't think you'll be a good negotiator. It doesn't matter how good you are in terms of your convincing tongue. They'll always be like, yeah, he sounds convincing, but there is something that is not clear. There is something that is not okay. So negotiation is based on your image. Never assume your image. Whether you're going even to negotiate for a job opportunity and the place in terms of interview, when you get into the interview, most of the time interviews takes to be negotiation. You're negotiating for a position, and people will feel like, your papers talk well, you have good words, but you don't look like you're convincing us enough the way you look like. You cannot serve us like this. So you need to understand that your image really adds weight to your negotiation. For you to have a win-win situation, or probably have a win and a lose situation, depending on what you're discussing and what you're negotiating about, your image is very important. Your image is very important. So make sure when you get into a table and you want to strike a deal, you want to make sure that you want to have the better side of the negotiation. Make sure you have confidence. Make sure your image is on top. It's good to understand that even as I'm walking in, you command respect. And people are like, no, let's listen to this man. Let's listen to this lady. By the time now you're opening your mouth, then you're good. Number 3, which is very important, when you're walking in, that you have confidence, then you make sure that you are, your image is okay. Now you get to the what we'd call the body of negotiation. The 2, you have not even spoken. You have not even, offered something. When you get into a situation where you're negotiating a high-stake position in terms of either it's a win-win, or probably let's just first deal when there is a win-lose situation. When there is a win-lose situation, that at the end of the day, someone has to win or someone has to go with something, and someone will go home empty-handed. When you get to that, what we'll call distributive negotiation, when you get into that itself, at this particular moment, be the first one to give an offer. When you get to a place where that you're discussing an agenda and you know at the end of the day that you want your way, then make sure you're the first one to give an offer. When you have gotten to buy things and probably you want to buy this phone, don't let the seller give you the offer, because once they give you the offer, be the first one. Ignite the discussion, ignite the negotiation, because once they give the offer, that offer forms the basis and the foundation for the negotiation. So at the end of the day, when you're making sure there is somewhere that you not be a win-win situation, it's a win-lose situation. When you get yourself that at the end of the day, someone has to win here, make sure you're the first one to offer, whatever you're going to offer, whether it's a figure, whether it's a date, whatever you're going, whether it's a statement, the opening statement becomes the foundation. And most of the time we con ourselves because we are not well prepared what we're going to negotiate. When you're getting a client and at the end of the day, there is a product that you need to make sure that you sell, and you want to make sure that you make at the end of the day the best out of it, make sure you're the first one to offer. Because when you offer, now we'll start retreating from there. Negotiation will always be around there. So when you walk in and you make sure that you're well prepared, you have gathered information well, you are well prepared for this negotiation, then make sure you are able to make the first move. We always make sure that you are able to make sure that you're giving the first offer, because the first offer will create the base. We are going to negotiate out of that. At the end of the day, that is what will guide us, which words to use, what are the counter offer that I can give. So be the first one to make the move. That is very important. When you're sure that at this particular moment, I want to win, I want to make sure that I have a better bargaining stand. For you to get a better bargaining stand, it means you give the offer. Let me check what you are dropping in terms of comment, even as we move in. Thank you, Anne Yathera. I know United Kingdom of Kabete is well represented. Thank you, Grace. Grace Wambo is our new member today. Nyokabi Sholuta, thank you for coming in, watching. Alex, thank you. Juja well represented. Kindly drop your comment. These are some of the technical shows that we have. Thank you, John. I can see John around. God bless you. God bless you for coming in, John, making sure that you are Kevo, thank you, Kevo. Make sure that you are able to share and also tag your friends, even as we see how we can make ourselves better negotiators. And we'll be able, every opportunity that comes on our way, we can be able to win. So as we move on, so I've said confidence. Then once you have confidence, then make sure your image is okay. Then make the first move. Then number 4, which is very important when you are moving to negotiation, don't give much information. Actually, we always say this: don't talk much, don't talk less. Give what is enough. Negotiation skills require, it's a move. So don't give a lot of information, because in a lot of information in negotiation, what happens is the people you're negotiating with, or your opponent, let me use that word, the people that you're negotiating with, they're able to pick a lot of information and they will use it either against you or for their own counter offer. So when you're doing negotiation, always make sure that you communicating what is important, and also you're able to calculate your moves in terms of wordings and whatever you say. So in negotiation, we don't talk a lot. You don't talk a lot. You don't say, for example, if you're your service provider and probably you want to convince a client, you don't talk much of how much I charged this event, how much I sold this suit. That itself, at the end of the day, start now. If they get to know the kind of the people you associate with, then they will know how to attack you. So when you get into a place of negotiating, always making sure that you are able to give what is necessary. Actually, when you give, you be the first one to make a move. Then always making sure that your move always, whatever else will follow in terms of what, it's rotate on your first move. Whatever you gave, whatever statement that you started with, always make sure you're rotating there, because at the end of the day, this is what was in your mind. This was what was your desired goal. So at the end of the day, everything else will do in the negotiation. You want to make sure that most of the time this carries the day. So how do you do this? Making sure you don't talk a lot. I find people losing opportunity because they'll say get into a bank, and you find you're talking to a bank manager and you want to apply for a loan, and you tell, you know what, I was in this bank C and they gave me a loan. Unfortunately, the business didn't start, it's died on their startup stage. Then I went to this bank D, I took a top-up loan, and then it didn't work well. And then you think this manager will give you a loan? No, they'll be like, I don't want to be in the part of your failed story. So when you're negotiating, you need to understand what you need to say. And most of the time when you're negotiating, always making sure you're presenting the positive side of the story. That's the whole thing. You cannot tell someone that, you know what, as we sell car, but we had 2 or 3 clients who have complained about our cars. Who will buy your car? No one will buy your car. So you need to make sure that at the end of the day, you're able to present your case as white as a snow. And how do you do that? Making sure that you are communicating less. You're giving less information, what is important, and probably what needs to be heard by the other person. And most of the time, making sure that it will help you to win the case. That is very important. That when you're negotiating, don't speak too much, don't speak too less, making sure you're giving what is enough. That is very important. Number 5, which is also very important, key to consider when you're getting to a negotiation table, always making sure that you are emotionally stable. You're emotionally stable. I find people, they're doing negotiation, along their place, they start crying. You need to making sure that you are able to people are not moved by emotion. Remember, at the end of the day, this is negotiation. You're not coming to give stories. Let me give a very good scenario. You'll find people looking for a job, and as they're narrating along the way, they start crying. I want to tell you, get these words. You are crying in an interview. Do you know what would call the whipping of emotions? It does not add, it doesn't probably add any weight to you getting that opportunity. Actually, you leave those people into a place whereby that, are you emotionally intelligent? Are you able to control yourself? If you are to get yourself into hard situation as we offer you this job, is this the kind of, when you're negotiating, please making sure you're emotionally stable. You don't shout, you don't raise your voice. Just make sure you are calm, cool, and collected. Yes, you could be feeling some, and sometimes when you are talking about a place where you want to make sure you want to go home with something in terms of winning, you are able to hold your emotions, even when you are provoked. Because most of the time, when you have gone for negotiation, and I know those people are probably what we'd call international relations, and they're doing negotiation between resources, and sometimes you'll find it becomes so hot, it are contentious issues when people are pulling one side to the other. At that particular moment, emotions intelligence is very key. There is no one who will be able to negotiate well. Even in a meeting, even in a boardroom, you'll never negotiate your idea throughout when you are not emotionally stable. So when you're getting into a table of negotiation, whichever the case it is, just making sure you're able to be emotionally stable. You are able to connect to, to control yourself. Emotionally is not just a matter of, crying. You are tonal, tonal variations, tonal, using the right tones for the right words. It helps to make a conducive environment for the negotiation. Don't become hostile. That's a whole thing. You cannot negotiate when people say the environment is hostile. There is no, people are not genuine. People are not real. That comes because of the emotions. When people are not emotions, they become hostile. They're not real. So when you get into a table to negotiate, just making sure that you are able, your emotions under your feet, they're under control. You can control yourself. Even when you're provoked, you can be able to handle. Because you'll get to a place when you're doing negotiation, high-end negotiations, and at that particular moment, your emotions are triggered. Can you be able to hold yourself? At the end of the day, I've seen these people, they're buying things on the streets, and it's the seller who is selling, and probably the buyer provokes you and he tells you something, and you pass the same emotion to the next buyer. You have lost it. So making sure that even as you're selling in business, emotional intelligence helps you, that once I'm done with this person, I cannot pass this case to another. I know you have experienced what will they call a bad day. You go to someone and you're talking to them, at the end of the day they're shouting at you, and probably they're projecting out. They're trying to project what they have gone through in the hands of somebody else. That is, we would say that person lacks what we would call negotiation skills. Because negotiation skills means if we are negotiating with you and the case is closed, whether I have lost it, whether I have won it, at the end of the day it's closed, I cannot pass the same emotion to the next person that I'm going to engage with. That it's a power of emotional intelligence and emotional stability. So you cannot be a good communicator, you cannot be a good negotiator in any deal, whether it is business, whether it is job, whether it is leadership, and you are not emotionally stable. Emotional intelligence, being self-aware of yourself. And I always tell people, if you feel you're not comfortable, you feeling I'm not emotionally, I'm not okay, I'm feeling some bitterness, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling this kind of, I can get out of my control, then make sure that you withdraw. You can postpone the negotiation, so that at the end of the day you prepare yourself, so that when you get into the table, you can be able to handle each and everything amicably. You can be able to reason it well. You can be able to put emotions where emotions are supposed to be. You can be able to put logics where the logic's supposed to be there, and you can be able to strike a win-win situation. When you get into the negotiation and your emotions are very at very stable stage, then at stable state, then you'll go to number 6. Always get into negotiation with an open mind and an open heart. Remember, in every negotiation, there are always probably the main 2 scenario. It is a win or a lose, because either you win, either I lose, you lose. So most of the 2 scenario, I will win, you lose. You lose, I will win. Most of the time when you get into any negotiation, you need to have an open mind. I would be confident, my image is okay, what we call the PR, public image is right, or public relations is okay, the way I'm shooting with myself. Then at the end of the day, I make sure that my emotions are stable, I'm okay, I'm able to give the first offer. But that doesn't mean that at the end of the day, the other person we are negotiating is a human being. They could be smarter than you are. So everything that you did, they've outshined you. So when you get into any negotiation, negotiate from an open mind. That means I could win. That's the best scenario in any negotiation, but it is not always the case. So sometimes you lose. It doesn't mean that you are not a good negotiator. It doesn't mean you didn't put your case right. It just means there is an extra time. There is a next time. So when you're getting yourself to negotiate, always know that I'll get into that meeting, I'll get that client. I find people, they're getting to strike deals with clients and they lose, and they're like, their day it's like a done day. It's not done. Probably you need to up your game. Probably that was not your day. Probably that was not your client, because when you get into this fixated mind, you're fixed that I have to win. When you lose it, then you'll hate yourself. Probably you think that is not your area, and it's only that you need to accommodate that when you get into the negotiation tables, it is not always will have a win-win situation. Sometimes you'll have a win-lose. Sometimes you lose and the other party win. So when you get into negotiation, always making sure that you're walking in with an open mind, with an open heart, that I could win this case, I could also lose. And that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter how prepared you are. Most of the time when you get into a negotiation, we are negotiating so that at the end of the day someone to win. And that's why we are here, because we want to making sure that we want to package you well, that any scenario you'll find yourself, you can negotiate your way out. Given a chance, you can win it. You can be able to convince your client very well. Now, those are the factors that will make you a better negotiator. When you get into the table and what would call the pillars of to sustain a good negotiation, what are the things that you need to know when you get into the table? Number one, when you get into negotiate, it's always good to understand, have background information on what you're discussing. Have you find people get into a meeting? Number two, even when you're meeting a client, just know what kind of a client am I. You can negotiate for 2 hours, and at the end of the day, this client is not your type. You need to understand, when you're getting to negotiate, my sister, my brother, get information. Try to get information. Information is power. You will never negotiate from a point of ignorance. You will never bargain from a point of ignorance. You will get msena you are probably when you're going to buy this phone. Don't just walk in one shop and say, this is the phone that I want. You need to have done a lot of background information and know different shops, different street, how much are they selling it? So that will help you when you're going to attack the negotiation. You are not attacking them from a point of ignorance. You are attacking it from a point of information and knowledge. So you need to do background. When you're called to present, when you're called, can you send a quotation? Don't just sit down and prepare a quotation that it is, it's present your ignorance. When people ask you, we need this kind of a quotation, kindly sit down, even before you sit down and write that quotation and email them, making sure that, I'm within their parameters, because I have done background research. When someone probably they want catering for just try to understand what is their budget, so that are we negotiating for the sake of negotiating? Because at the end of the day, when people reach out, the offer that you're going to give, it will always help you to do the follow-up. So you'll never negotiate well when you have not done your background, what would call your homework right. Even when you're preparing yourself as a leader to go for a meeting, and you want to make sure that in that meeting, whether you're the chair, whether there's an agenda you want to put through, make sure you have all the information that will make that agenda go. Have you gone to a place, you're submitting an agenda in a meeting, and you want to negotiate for it to go through, but there's a lot of loopholes because a lot of questions will come in and you don't have information. So it means we have to postpone to go and look for more information so that you can come and convince people. Anytime you are presenting yourself in a scenario you want to win, remember you have the bar of proving everything that is required to be proven for that, for you to carry the day. And how do you do this? Make sure that you are updated. You have background information. You have background research. You have done your homework well. By the time you're walking in that, in that scenario where you need to negotiate, either you're negotiating for your business, either you're negotiating for a client, either you're negotiating for any opportunity that will come across. If you're negotiating for an opportunity that has come up in your organization, either to present, and you want to negotiate your way out, it means you must convince us. How do you convince us? That you have information, you have gathered information, you are actually countering our question with the right information that we need. So background research is very important. Understanding what we're going to negotiate and how we're going to negotiate. Number two, if you're able to win any situation when you're negotiating, once you have background information, making sure that you are able also to understand the person you're going to negotiate with. How does it help you? The person you're negotiating with, you need to understand to what level do I need to package yourself. If you're going to make sure you're meeting professors and doctors, you remember in that hall, you have no room to miss with the right words, because the intellectual capacity of the people you're dealing with will determine if you're negotiating with Wakochini. You also need to come to their cadre. You need to come to their level. So once you have information and you have understand who is going to present that, the other team in negotiation. Because once they come, you need to understand, can you be able to convince them? Can you be able, you have the information, it's okay, you understand what they want, but at the end of the day, the people that you're going to sit in that table, you need to understand their level. Their intellectual capacity will determine whether you're going to win that case or they will win that case. They'll make sure whether you feel comfortable. I find people who are intellectually, up. wako sawa kabisa, but the people probably they are negotiating with, or the people they are talking with, or the people they want to make sure that they're striking a deal with, wako chini. So these are two people that probably at the end of the day there will be a lot of back and forth. Back and forth. Remember, we said this, when you're doing negotiation, it's very important to use the right words, because any word can be interpreted. Now, if I say a word and the people negotiating with, that is not how they interpreted the word, I'm telling you, that negotiation has gone haywire. So when we are talking about negotiation, that's why I talk about, once you have background information of what you're going to talk about and what you're going to present yourself to, making sure that you know the people, understand their intellectual capacity, intellectual ability to sustain a negotiation. It is one thing to know how to negotiate. It's also very important to know how to maintain or to sustain a negotiation, an intellectual capacity to be able to sustain a negotiation. That is another thing that is very important. You don't just wake up. Have you found a place where people are talking and they're bargaining, but they are quiet for a minute because wameshuana words? In other words, they don't have the intellectual capacity to sustain negotiation. You will never negotiate well if you don't have what we would call intellectual capacity. And intellectual capacity comes from the place, fast thinkers. Actually, we always say the characteristics of good negotiator, they're fast thinkers. You need to be a fast thinker. You need to have at the fingertips. You need to have, convincing tongue very fast. You need to making sure that you can connect your tongue with your mind. There are people, before they can think and put their thoughts into words, it's a whole day. Good ideas, but the transport between the mind and their mouth, it can take 2 days. You'd be a good thinker, but you are not able to translate, your thinking capacity into words. Remember, when you are getting to negotiation, it's not how good, in terms of thinking you are. It is how good you are in thinking and how good you're able to present that idea in a convincing and persuasive manner. And you don't persuade you don't persuade people with thoughts. You persuade people with words. You present your thoughts through words. So good negotiators, they have a short distance between their mouth and their brain. I hope that is clear. And I hope that I've gotten well. Good. Thank you, my dad Simon, for coming in. I also want to appreciate, Janet, thank you for coming in, and all those people who are watching us through our YouTube channel, Sam Magnus M TV. And kindly, let's make sure you be sharing this link. I beseech you, brethren. Thank you, Pastor Sam, for coming in. God bless you. Thank you, Rachel, for coming in. Thank you, Emily Henu, for coming in. Great. Kindly making sure that you are able to share this link in your page, and it will help to reach to many people. This is wisdom that we need to help our brothers and our sisters. And I want to acknowledge all those that have taken their time and to share this link even as we come to the end. We want to hit a 10 share, so make sure you are sharing these. Make sure if you're watching us and you have not copied this link, kindly make sure you are sharing. So I was talking about that the things that you need to make sure that you have, the preparation that you need to go through. You have done background research, and you have make sure that also you understand the kind of people you're going to meet. Number 3 is very important to understand, where will the negotiation take place? The place, you need to familiarize yourself with the place. Because if you go to a place where you feel tensed, then it means you're not comfortable. A place when you're not comfortable, your thoughts becomes a bit rigid because you're not comfortable. So that means you need also to understand what kind of environment are we going to have these negotiations. Because when the environment is conducive, it enhances your communication. And I always say this, the place whereby that you're the one who has much to lose. If you have something to lose in the negotiation, then you better have you better have the opportunity to offer the environment. Where are we supposed to meet? And I always tell people, when you're having a client and they ask you, but probably when you're going to meet and where are we going to meet, if you feel there is much to lose, please propose a venue. Why? Because when you're walking in that venue, either you're familiar with that venue, it helps you psychologically. Somehow it will boost your emotions. It will boost your psychological wellness. And that itself, it gives you the stability. What we talks about, the emotional stability, to be able to negotiate well. So don't go to a place where probably when you want to rush for a washroom, you don't know who to ask. Itself, it makes you very uncomfortable. And remember, they are the people that you're presenting yourself like you know everything. So at the end of the day, you need to look excellent in your presentation. So that means anytime you have, I have realized more the time when I have to go to a place and probably we are going to meet tomorrow, I might even find myself visiting that place today just to go and familiarize myself, and I know the place. So by the time we are meeting tomorrow, if anything might arise that probably the people you're negotiating, they might mention anything around there, probably have a clue of what they're meaning. Don't be clueless. Don't be lazy. You cannot be a good negotiator when you're lazy. No. You cannot win. You cannot sustain a win situation in any negotiation when you are lazy. So that means you need to be familiar, which is the environment that I'm going to expose myself. Do you know, I have found a place whereby that you have gone to an environment and it's allergic to you in terms of either the environment is very cold, you start sneezing, you know, itself, it destabilizes yourself, you know. So you need to making sure whether you're meeting a client, whether it's a business deal you're striking, make sure that most of the time, given an opportunity, remember I said this, when you have much to lose, always counter it by offering a better environment for you. Why? Because that environment itself, it gives you the confidence. Even if you are to lose, you have already fought for it. So you cannot negotiate just from anywhere. The place is very important. Remember, place is as important as your image. And also remember, when you offer, do you know, the environment or the place where we're supposed to meet, either in terms of location or place where we're going to meet, you also need to understand, offer something that will depict your image, will depict who you are. It's going to, express who you are, and also in cognition of the other party. Because also other party, when you're offering a place, for example, when you are talking of meeting and you're striking a deal in a business field and you want to talk of a business of 200,000, or probably, let's assume you're an MC and you are going to do a corporate event and probably you're targeting to charge 50 or 100,000. You need to take them to an environment that enhances, what it is 100G. You not take them to a hotel where you're taking tea of 20 shillings and you're striking a deal of 100G. I'm telling you, I know people are going to reason tea is tea leaves, water and milk, whether it is 50 shillings or 100 bob. But I'm telling you, when we come to negotiation, it is not just a tea. It's another unspoken word of who you are. Remember, negotiation is about classes. So when you're negotiating, you must look for an environment and a place that is going to articulate what you're saying. I hope I'm clear. I hope I have opened someone's mind. Whether you get into business and you get to a place, and also when we talk about service, service fields, a place where it's not goods, where we exchange good for money. The place when we talk about providing services and you need to convince people you are the best, the negotiation skills are very important. A place when you want to sell insurance, negotiations are key skills. Not just a communicator. You need to go far ahead and learn negotiation skills. They will add weight. You want to get client to follow you, you need to make sure that your negotiation skills are key. You can convince, you can persuade people to follow you and to believe in you. I hope I'm communicated tonight. Kindly consume this knowledge. Kindly think through about this knowledge, because it is so powerful. If I would take it with an open mind and ask myself, in the field that I am I able to sustain a negotiation? Have I built my intellectual capacity to a place whereby that I can sustain a conversation that is persuasive, that is convincing, that can be able to help me to win in any scenario? That is very important. If you're a public speaker and you are negotiating your way through to do a presentation, how well can you sustain that? You'll only do that when you have grown your intellectual capacity to a place by that you have worked on your image. That will always say this. And guys, understand this statement that always we don't dress. Nowadays, we are past the age of dressing to hide our nakedness. We don't just dress to hide nakedness. We dress the way we want to be addressed. We dress to command something of who we are. So image comes to the way we dress. So you not get anything and just dress for the sake of dressing it. You need to understand the power of dressing will always either add weight to your words or contradict your words. Thank you so much, guys, for giving me time to share my little or more knowledge that I have in the area on how we can be able to build ourselves and how we'll be able to build the entity that we have in terms of negotiating, in terms of making sure that opportunity will always present to us, but are we always prepared to win those opportunity? So I always say this: when preparedness meets opportunity, then results are evident. So you make sure that in the business, in the leadership, prepare yourself. You never know when that opportunity will come for you to negotiate, and probably not have a moment to do the rehearsal. So you need to prepare yourself, wait for the opportunity, and believe you me, that you'll be able to have that result or that opportunity coming your way. So thank you so much. God bless you. Until next week, the same place where we usually meet. Kindly always drop a text to us how we can be able to improve, what we can be able to do better, because we value your comments, we value your feedback. We never take it for granted, and we love you so much. Keep it up. Until next week, shalom, shalom, and God bless you.